Hello, and welcome to the From the Shadows podcast. I am the producer, Jason Lewis. I would like to thank you for tuning in to the From the Shadows podcast. And without further ado, here is your host, Shane Grove.
Welcome, everybody, to the From the Shadows podcast. I am Shane Grove. I'm your host, and I'm joined today with the esteemed producer, Jason.
How's it going?
And I'm also joined with, this is one of our very special Ozark Howler episodes. And so for the introduction, we kind of coaxed the Ozark Howler to stick around and help introduce this episode. So Ozark Howler, welcome to the pre-episode introduction of your episode.
Oh, no, I don't know how to. I'm going to give me one of those coyote squealers or something and work me on a howl. I really want a wolf howl.
There you go.
Right? I don't know. I had to research that. I wonder what animal howls the most or the loudest or the best.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know.
This is
a red tick hound.
A blue tick or red tick, red bone mean.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's like a real hound. I never even thought about that. Like a real hound instead of like a wild animal.
Right,
You know, I had been reading, Shane, you're a movie guy.
Yeah.
You know the line on MGM.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The noise, the roar that the growl that they dubbed in there is actually a tiger, because tigers have the loudest roar, and apparently lions don't really roar like you want. So now everybody thinks they do, but they went out to like the San Diego Zoo or wherever in the 50s when they made that, and got that lion that's on the MGM was a famous lion, you know what I mean, from back in the old days, zoo days, but he didn't growl or didn't roar, so they had to find it, and I forgot where they got the tiger at. But when you see the beginning of an MGM movie and that roars, that you're actually listening to a tiger.
Well, now that you have ruined 80 years worth of movie watching for everybody that grew up thinking that was a lion.
That is an interesting
it is
factoid.
a lion.
That's an interesting factoid.
It's a lion, but the voice is that of a tiger. So believe me, if I could change my voice, I would have a better radio voice. But I don't. I had to be the Ozark Howler because with my voice, I couldn't be the, you know what I mean? I couldn't be the Philadelphia Panther or anything, could I? Or the Boston Badass. Right?
Well,
Ozark's is the only place I can talk. Maybe Oklahoma or Texas, but
this is the third installment of the Ozark Howler, and I know Jason, from our experience, from the feedback we get and stuff, these are some of the most popular episodes, which kind of it's kind of weird because what the podcast is built around is the unknown and the cryptid stories and the conspiracy theory stories and ghost stories. And this is the most real of anything we deal with.
Simply built around the unexplained, but yet this is stuff that actually happened. It is explained.
Actually happened, yep. Yeah. And so I just applaud our audience for being open-minded and liking the stories as much as we did, because it was obvious when I first met the Howler years ago. It has been years ago now, if you want to stop and think about it, which is funny. That was the best part. I mean, he told the greatest stories. I'd be on the mail route, he'd be in my ear on my Bluetooth, and he'd have me cracking up laughing, and people would look at me even stranger than they do normally. And now they can experience the pleasure from the Ozark Howler that I got.
Well, that's how they used to call you, the crazy old kook. They said you were laughing and just talking to yourself. Oh, I understand now. Okay, right. You had reason to now. I get you. I got you. They call
the postmaster and be like, hey, this guy's out here delivering mail and he's talking to somebody. Well, who's he talking to?
There's nobody around.
So Howler, how do you handle this newfound I guess, success, this
fame,
this almost stardom, like.
Nobody knows. I shared this podcast with exactly 2 people, maybe 3, 2.
Well, now come on. We need to get some.
First
better
of all,
numbers.
I don't have. I'm sorry. You need better numbers.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm not like you guys. I don't have all these. I'm not on Facebook and all that stuff. So I'm down here building a bunker for the apocalypse. Okay. So the smaller pathway I got to my nirvana here, the less people are going to be. I'm going to have to shoot to keep it. You know what I'm saying? When the flash comes, when the zombie apocalypse happens, I don't want people to even think that I got anything. Certainly, because down here, if you're, if they think you got some money, that's why, that they made a show called on Netflix. What was it called?
Ozark, right?
I didn't want to say it, but yeah.
Ozark.
And I tried. My wife loved it. Everybody I know down here loves it. Okay. Well, most people love it. There's a couple people that didn't, and there was the one show that I watched. It said, Marty there. They thought he had $6 million. If people thought you had $6 million down here, you would just be gone. I mean, that's it. That silence I just did on the radio, that's what happened. Just silence. Okay. They couldn't make the second episode because you'd get whacked in the first episode. You know what I mean? So some of the things I find far-fetched about that are that right there, so I don't want anybody down. I mean, plus 2/3 of this county doesn't have high-speed internet. So they had a big deal where they give iPads to these kids, these school districts. They hire these PhD superintendents from the city that come out here, and they get their first job in these smaller districts. And then the first thing they want to do is get iPads and what's the Microsoft Notepad or whatever they call it. Because, and then when they get told 1/3, in some of these districts, 2/3, the kids don't have internet at home.
Makes them useless.
Yeah, but they still get them anyway, just so they can say they can check that on the box. So, and you talk to me sometimes. I'm trying to talk, and I, I'm kind of down here in Paradise Valley, and the phone stops up at the top. The cell phone stops up at the top. Yeah, so that's why I don't tell very many people, because most people down here certainly. Plus, they're suspicious. If they think if you're creating something, you could be quasi considered entertainers. Okay.
Oh boy.
Which means you might be lighting loafers or a liberal, and you know what I mean. And you down here in the country, and they don't want any of that stuff. They don't want any of that, any kind of Hollywood or any kind of. So
well, thank God I can be liberal here in Crawford County. So
there you go. You better not keep it in the closet here. Now they'll accept you for being gay down here, but they won't accept you for being a Democrat.
Oh,
they just ain't gonna happen.
Well, on that note,
yeah, we should scrub that, right? We should scrub that part.
We might have to cut that part.
Might have to scrub that out.
Well, so let's we'll get the episode started. There's some really good stories here. We think everybody will enjoy it. And thanks again to the Howler for crawling out of his bunker in Paradise Valley and joining us this morning. And as always, parental discretion is advised for any episode that the Howler is involved with. But he's just keeping it real. So let us know what you think, and we'll be working on episode 4 with the Ozark Howler at some point.
Absolutely.
So enjoy the episode. We'll talk to you later. So Jason, we're sitting here today with the infamous, or just famous, I don't know, but he's notorious, the Ozark Howler. And Jason, wait till you hear this story that the Howler's got for us today. He's told me this story before, and it's pretty good. It's right up there with the rest of them.
I am all ears. Hairy ones, but all ears.
Hey, so I'm sitting there. I don't think I was writing a ticket. I was just giving somebody a warning. I'm standing there on the side of the road talking to somebody about their behavior. And then they called me. I could hear a plectron, which is what they use to tone out fire and animals. They used to. I don't know what they do nowadays because I've been out of it so long. But so whenever you hear that plectron, when you're close, you kind of put an ear to it and try to figure out, well, what's going on, where are they going. Well, next thing you know, now they're calling the station. I can hear all these people calling the station, and then now they're calling me. Dispatch is trying to call me. Ask my 1020 my location. So I told them where I was at, and they said, we have shots fired. Somebody's down. The shooter's still there, and they gave me an address on Poplar Road. I think that's what it was. And literally, I look up, and the road sign's about 50 feet in front. I could read the road sign. That's how close I am to this road. Now, when I say road, for your urban listeners, I'm on a state highway that turns gravel road. So it's not like I'm driving a couple blocks down the street. I'm about to drive out in the country. And part of the address there, I'm getting this second and third hand, but I'm listening to everybody. Okay. So because the county dispatch is telling the state dispatch, and the state dispatch is telling me, so I get to hear it every time because I'm a tune. I got all these different systems going on at once. Okay. So they're trying to give direction. They said, well, you just go down there and you go down a steep hill. When you cross the creek, you'll see them. And then our dispatch said the creek, yeah, there's a low water slab. So down here in the country, they don't even have money for bridges a lot of times. So if it's a heavily traveled road, they'll pour a little concrete in the creek, and the locals just drive through it, man. As long as the water ain't too deep. Sometimes that's how you can tell the out-of-towners. If you get a flash flood and you got visitors, somebody's drowning, because for some reason they don't know. It's not. It's tragedy. Some of them will just get the car flooded out, but some of them tragically get taken from us early because their depth perception, water-wise, is not what it ought to be. So anyway, I'm going flying down this gravel road, and that's what they say. They know house number. You cross the slow water slab, it's going to be the first place you'll know. And that's what they tell me. You'll know when you get there, which is not a good thing in a shooting. So what's that mean? They're going to shoot at me? I don't know. So I cross this low water slab. I got my red lights on, but I got my siren off because I don't want them to know. I'm going to try to halfway sneak up on them, if you could imagine that. But
right.
I come around across this low water slab, come around a little corner, and there's a Dodge K car.
Oh gosh!
With you remember the K car?
Dodge K,
yeah, I remember that.
K, is that K for crap?
I think it was. Hey man, Lee Iacocca saved Chrysler with that. Okay, so let's say, and he just passed away. We lost him last year. So anyhow, it was half on the roadway, half off the roadway. And I don't want to say this, so I'm going to, because this is probably going to get you down there. But there was a fat girl holding a baby in the street, in the road. And there's a dude.
Is that what they meant by you'll know when you get there?
I guess. Yeah. First of all, I can't drive by because this car is halfway in the street. Second of all, there's, 300's a stretch, probably 250, 260, but she's only about 5'4". And she's holding this baby. And she's dressed like a 260 will dress in the summertime in the country on a gravel road holding a baby while her boyfriend's changing a flat tire.
Ready to go to Walmart.
Yeah. I mean, she looks. I'm trying to paint a picture for the viewers that has to understand this. So as I come screeching up, and there's a guy, he no shirt on, skinny, changing a flat tire with no shirt on. And I roll up in this brand new Crown Vic, dual exhaust blaring, jam on the anti-lock brakes, throw it up and park, and got all the red lights going and everything. And I jump in. Somebody's supposed to be shot here, remember?
Yeah.
So I pull out the artillery, meaning my shotgun. I pull it and I do my best Miami Vice and rack it. And I point it right at him, and I said, the dude changing the flat tire. And I said, let me see your hands. And he said, hold the fuck on. And I said, let me see your hands. And he said, I told you to hold the fuck on. I'm busy. And I had to yell at him again. And this dude turns around, and as he's turning around, he's reaching in his front right pocket. So I got to scream at him again. You know, nowadays they just shoot people. Back in the old days, cops had a little discipline. But anyway, so I'm just looking at him down the barrel, and I'm telling him, let me see your effing hands. And when he turns around, he's got I'm pointing, we're on Skype, so you guys see me. Yeah. He's pointing, I'm pointing to my left shoulder. When he turns around, he's got a bullet hole in him and a big old, about 14 inches of blood, a bloodline going from his collarbone about to his belly button in a sweaty, dusty, nasty humidity. He's got a bullet hole in him bleeding.
And he's changing the tire.
And when I show him, when I use the F word, because that's what they understand down here, I said, show me your effing hands. And he pulled out a pack of Marlboro Reds in a flip-top box. That's what he was getting out of his pocket. Pulls one out and lights a cigarette while he's staring me down.
With a hole in his shoulder.
Yeah, with a bullet hole. You're bleeding. And I said, this is what's kind of the officer safety fail was. I said, what's going on, or, you know, who shot you, something like that. And him and the fat girl can only point with one hand because she's holding a baby. They go, him. And I look over my right shoulder, and there's a dude standing there. Now, if he'd wanted to kill me, he could have killed me 50 times because I didn't even see him standing there. But he's holding the phone, a cordless phone. And, of course, I was spinning my gun around. I said, you shoot him? And he goes, you fucking right, I shot him. I'm fucking around here, I shot him. So anyway, I call the cavalry and tell them they can kind of slow down. I got everybody because the caller still had him on the phone when I had him at gunpoint. So he's telling dispatch I got the victim at gunpoint. Now, he doesn't tell them everything. So they're telling everybody, you know, I'm out of the car with somebody at gunpoint and all this other stuff. So I try to quell the posse before it gets there. And at the same time, I'm hearing toning out a helicopter, staff for life. So I'm seeing 50,000 of my tax dollars going out the window right here on this gravel road. Because out here in the country, they fly everybody with a bullet hole in them. So even though he's had the ability to start changing his flat tire and he's working a lug wrench, he gets our tax dollars. He gets to take the Cadillac flight up to the university. So anyhow, because then they start sending out the fire trucks because they've got to mark an LZ and they run out these hoses and you just can't imagine what all they do. But back to the changing the tire. So I get the shooter over there and I said, what is going on? And he said, well, the fat girl's my ex and the baby is my baby. I've got full custody of it. And she said she wanted to talk to me. So when I came down here, we had a little altercation. So I'm just going to tell you how it happened because it sounds better than this guy talking. There was tracks all the way around this house, like 3-4 times. And what happened is they had a disturbance that when the boyfriend, who's the victim, when the victim goes out in the street, they start an argument, a disturbance out here, and the fat girl, he dropped her off at the low water slab. She walked in the back door and stole her baby. So that was what the whole deal was. The boyfriend's going to go down there and start a crap with this guy in the street, and then while he was out on the front porch, fat girl's going to get her kid back, you know, because that's what you do when you don't have custody. You go in back and steal your baby. Well, they started playing this, because you guys remember the 90s. The guy on the street was saying, come out to the street. The guy in the house was saying, come on my property. You know, like
little bit of a standoff there.
Yes. So finally, the guy in the house got tired of the dude on the street and walked out there to straighten him up. Well, the guy in the street realized that he's about to get his ass kicked. So he gets in his K car, fires it up, and tries to run over the shooter. Now, the shooter ain't got a gun at this point. The shooter's trying to run, and this guy chased this K car chased this man around. Now, it's a little old country house. I don't know how. It's not a trailer. It's a frame house, but because I don't know if a trailer would have got him. It'd been too much of a straight stretch in the front and the back of the yard. He wouldn't have made it on a trailer, but since it was a little square house, he was able to make it around the corner each time. About the third time getting chased around his house with his K car, he goes in the back door. He comes out the front door with a 22, Remington Speedmaster 22. And when this guy, the K car comes around, he shoots, he goes through the windshield, hits the steering wheel, deflects off and gets the guy in collarbone. Now this guy, he thought the K car was enough, but until they got the rifle. So he tries to, when he takes the round through the shoulder, he straightens it out and tries to jump back on the road. Well, the problem is the road bed's higher than the yard, and he high centers. So when the road bed hits his frame, he's high centered, and it's a front wheel drive car, and he's trying to spin out, but he can't so the shooter shoots the back tires out to keep him there. So when I roll up, he's trying to change the back tire because he thinks he can't go because it's flat, when in reality he can't go because the front of the car is raised up too high to get traction to get off the high center. Does that make sense?
How on earth is he changing the back tire when the front tires are off the ground?
He had that little rinky-dink jack, and he was trying to get that four-way. He was trying to get it all underneath there, and the whole time. So the shooter went back in the house and put the gun up and called 911 and said, "Hey, this dude come down here. I just shot some in my yard," and that gets their attention. So, needless to say, I take all these statements. A helicopter comes in, big old EC-145 comes in, lands, and they're trying. These EMTs are trying to put him in on the. He's got to get on the gurney so they can walk him out across. Walk his gurney out across and load him up. And these flight nurses are little bitty things, and he's not used to dealing with little bitty things because he's getting mouthy. What they're mouthing over is a cigarette. They tell him he's got to put his cigarette out before they can transport him. And he said, he's going, "Fuck it, don't transport me. I want to smoke." And they get to an argument to the point where we have to tell him, we have to take his cigarette. The cops have to take his cigarettes away so he can quit smoking long enough to get in his helicopter. Okay. So what? Isn't that terrible? So
that's terrible.
He finally finished his cigarette, last cigarette, lays back down. Because when they first loaded him on the gurney, they had it leaning up. Okay. And he was trying to finish the cigarette. Anyway, they get him loaded up in his helicopter and it takes off. So I got to get statements from the fat girl, from the baby's daddy, and whatever else I need to do. So then I take the shooter down to the courthouse, jail, old-fashioned country stuff, you know what I mean? So there's a jail courthouse combination. I call the prosecutor and I say, "Hey, this is the deal." And I line out the story kind of a little smoother than I did for you guys about, they went down there to steal his baby back that he doesn't have custody to. Well, out here in the country, especially back in those days, the prosecutor said, "Jeff, if you go down to somebody's house and try to steal their baby and kick their ass, you're probably going to get shot. So keep the gun, but let the guy go, and I'll look at it when I get to work on Monday." Okay.
So there's an attempted kidnapping and a shooting, and the guy's like,
so he was like, it's self-defense. You know what I mean? The kidnapper was who he got shot, is the way he looked at it. Don't go stealing somebody's baby. Don't go down to somebody's house and steal somebody's baby and expect not to get
shot.
There you go.
Okay? So
that's a no-brainer.
Hey, I'm getting all these calls.
To live your life anyway, right?
All these calls are coming in, and it's the victims' family saying, "Hey, is this guy going to stay in jail? What's going on?" And I'm trying to explain to him, we don't know yet. Well, what do you mean you don't know yet? My brother's on life support. I said, "Your brother ain't life support." They flew him to Columbia. He's on life support. I said, "He was smoking a Marlboro when I talked to him." "What do you mean?" I said, after she motherfuckers me, I said, "We had to take his cigarettes. The worst thing happened to him, we took his cigarettes away so they could load him up." When I had the prosecutor on the phone, and this is kind of low rent I used to be, I said, "Hey," Bob was the name. I said, "Bob, since I got you on the phone," I said, "That car, I spent all day down here and hadn't got to do anything. So they're going to look at my numbers." I said, "That car belongs to this old woman. He had bought it in town from this old woman, never got the license plates changed, never had insurance on it." I said,
"Wow,
I'm going to write him some tickets."
Oh boy.
So
Get your numbers up. Get
my numbers up. Yeah, I'm going to write him some tickets. Even though he's been shot, I'm going to write him some tickets. I let the shooter go, but I'm going to write him some tickets because tickets are just easy to prove. You know, when you got to work a crime scene where somebody's shot, that's hard. That's a lot of work. But writing a dude a ticket, that's pretty easy. So I wrote this guy some tickets. Okay. And then I'm off work a day or two. I don't remember, not very many days, day or two, 3, something like that. When I sign on to work, when you work out here in the country, you just sign on when your house. When I signed on, my boss called me two-way, car to car, and said, hey, meet me down here at the police station. I got to talk to you. And so I rolled up, and I said, what's going on? He goes, hey, you know those tickets you wrote to that guy? I said, yeah. And he goes, you're going to have to void them all out. And I said, void them all out? I said, talk to the prosecutor. And he goes, well, the dude's dead. I said, dead? And here I felt bad. You know, I'm making fun of him. You know, I'm making fun of him to his sister. You know, he's smoking cigarettes and stuff. And I said, dude, how did he die? He was changing a flat tire, smoking a cigarette. And he goes, oh, no, they just kept him overnight at the university. And then they let him out. And then somebody else shot him on Sunday.
That's morbid.
What?
That is morbid.
So he says, yeah, he was recuperating with his arm in a sling, you know how they do.
Uh-huh.
Sitting on the couch in the trailer park, because they lived in a trailer park, between two fat girls. The girl from the other day, and there was another, I guess, 250-pounder next to him with him. And I don't want to say somebody famous, but he reminds me of Kid Rock, kind of. You know, just skinny kid. Yeah. So he's sitting between two fat chicks on the couch watching movies back in the day when you had to rent them. You know, they rented some movies and helped him recuperate. And somebody opened the trailer door. A masked man opened the trailer door and shot him multiple times. Didn't touch the girls he was sitting between. Shot him multiple times and left.
Well, so did they?
Yeah, so they got the shoot. So my next thing was, well, who shot him? Why did he shoot him? He said, well, and I feel bad telling the story because this shooter had some issues. So this guy lived down in the trailer park. This young man was mentally deficient, okay, and he had a job at what we call the sheltered workshop. I don't know what you guys call it out there, but you know what I mean. So he was borderline. He could barely take care of himself. But what had happened is he lived with his mom and dad. First his dad died, then his mom died, then his sister essentially took over the estate and kicked him out of the house he was raised in. Okay, so so on this limited resources, the only place he could afford, I don't know how he ended up down in the trailer park, but he ended up in the trailer park. And I guess there were some other people that worked there at the shelter workshop in the trailer park too. And every day this bus would come and pick them up to bring them to work. You know, that's how it works. I don't know what the bus is called, but you know, these guys are in their 20s and 30s riding a bus to build. I don't know what they build over there. So what had happened is my boss, my sergeant, my corporal, when somebody gets killed like that, they do a neighborhood canvass where they go start talking to all the neighbors and say what happened. So they knock on the door of this trailer and my sergeant says, hey, man, you know why we're here? And this kid goes, yeah, I probably shouldn't have done it. Now, of course, these guys were smart enough right off the bat. They said, well, okay, that's okay. You know, some folks just need shot. What'd you do with the gun? Well, I cleaned it and put it in here. So they go in the kitchen of this house, and the second drawer down, he had this little old junkie. I think it was 25 automatic or something. I mean, nothing really good by today's standards. But underneath it was a notebook piece of paper, and he had a list. And the victim was number one on the list, and it was marked out. Number two was a sister. I think there was a total of 9 names on that list, and he was just going to go down, and it was 9 people that
oh boy, wronged
trespassed upon him, and he didn't know how to deal with it. So, of course, they go to court. He gets public defender because he ain't got no money. He goes to court, and they show how this dude, the victim, you know, had picked on these short bus riders every day for some of them for years. Until this kid moved in a trailer park, and he was obviously didn't want to be victim. You know, he wasn't going to take it for years. So after a couple of weeks or month, he was able to score the gun, and The Mask and all that stuff. I guess he got the ideas from watching TV. So anyway.
So what you're saying is this is the plot from Sling Blade before.
Kind of, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, kind of like that. And the sad part is I don't think he got much time. He got probation or something because.
Well, it sounds like
you can't go around.
Sounds like the guy deserved it.
You can't go around picking on handicapped kids down here and expect not to get shot. And I know this sounds bad, but just a lot of folks need shot.
Well, there you go. That says it all. You heard it from the Ozark Howler, folks.
They don't mess around too much.
Wouldn't that be second on the list behind don't go trying to kidnap somebody's baby and not expect to get shot? And then number 2 would be don't pick on somebody less fortunate. And
that's right. That's right. We need to rewrite that song. What was that song that used to say? You don't go riding hot checks down to Mississippi. There ain't no good chain gangs. You don't go stealing babies. In the Ozarks, you don't go stealing babies. Don't picking on a handicap. Mentally, I used to say retarded, and my daughter goes nuts when I say that. And I try to explain to her that's the opposite of advanced. Like if I'm working on a truck and I'll say something about the timing being retarded, you can't say that word, Daddy. And I said that's the correct term for vehicle maintenance. It's just the opposite of advanced.
Right.
So back in them days, you'd have said that. Now you're mentally deficient.
Now I keep telling Jason, because he's a big pro wrestling fan. Used to have a pro wrestling podcast, and I keep telling him about this story you told me.
The Harley race. Can we say Harley's name since he's passed on?
Say Harley.
Sure,
race
you can. He was a celebrity.
Hey, so I was. See, I don't know what you guys' listener base is, so I don't know. I mean, I hate to get taken off the air before I even get started, but one of the things Missouri, where I live, in growing up, there's all these public hunting and fishing areas and boat accesses and all that stuff. And when you're law enforcement, you tend to drive. Back in my day, you'd drive through there because that's where I'd say get shot. People get shot, dump cars. They steal a car and they go push it in the river when they get done with it. Or they're going to go hand to hand buy on dope or something. And they say, meet me out here on, by such and such. And, somebody gets killed out there in the middle of nowhere. So you have a habit of driving through these conservation areas, Well, there's one pretty close to town, and they'd paved the road. They'd done a bunch of work to it. And I was driving down there. And another reason why you go down there, because they all have outhouses. Like they call them, but fancy. And when you're working late at night, you're in uniform, so you just can't go take a leak on the side of the road somewhere. I guess you could, but so you go down to these places and take a leak in the outhouse. So anyway, I'm coming out of there, and it's got a real long, about a mile of paved road, and it's about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and there's a car coming at me, and this state has a rigorous inspection program to get your license renewed every year. License plates renewed. You got to get they make sure your exhaust works and all your turn signals work, and you don't have do they do that out there where you guys live? I don't know, but
no.
It's just terrible.
No, they do it out west though.
Yeah, I don't. It's supposed to be for safety, but whatever. Mm-hmm. So
we don't really care about safety.
So what happens is a lot of these times people with deficient exhaust, as soon as they see a cop car, they let off of the gas, so it quiets down, but what it really does is go when it goes by you. So as I'm coming out of this place and these kids see that I'm a cop, they let off of it and it goes right by. And it's pretty decent weather, 65 degrees, whatever. I had my window cracked. So you know what's going on now. I cut a big U-turn, light him up. And it's an old junky Chevy, I want to say Corsica. What was the 2 doors? Corsica, I think, was the 4-door. What was the 2-door?
Oh.
They had a Z24. Remember them things?
Beretta.
Yeah. Beretta. So
I'm ashamed that I know what a K car is and a Beretta.
I'm walking up next to this car, and both the back, the back window over the back seat is tapered. This little old triangle thing. It's got duct tape and plastic on it. And then the driver's side has got duct tape and plastic on. So he's got 2 windows knocked out of this and then duct taped. So as I walk up there, I'm kind of seeing in, and they look, I don't know, just kind of, when you work out here in the woods, it kind of hillbilly country folks, not dangerous really to much. I mean, I didn't think anyway. But you go try to ask somebody to lower the window when they got duct tape closed. It gets tricky. That's when you got to use your finesse. Okay, so he's telling me it's okay. I'm sitting here trying to peel his window down for him a little bit. You know what I mean? The duct tape. So I'm peeling some window down, and as I'm standing there, I'm up by the A-pillar post, so I'm looking down more through the windshield than the side window. Right. As we're navigating the duct tape and the plastic. I can see Polaroids face down on the dash. Now, you guys are old enough pre-digital camera. Polaroids, to me, say shit that we don't want to get developed.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So... And then they're going down here at this boat ramp. Now, I never messed with anybody down at the boat ramp. If they were parked, I didn't mess with them. I might have run license plate, but you had guys going to harass people. They'd make out, or usually they go down the boat ramp at 10:30 at night. If they're not legitimately taking in or out or night fishing, they're smoking weed, or it's couples, and that could be male on female, or nowadays male on male, or whatever. You know what I mean? So I got these 2 boys going down this thing in the middle of the night. So and the locals think they think locals think the same way the cops do. Whatever, you're going down there. So I started ribbing them a little bit because they look like fairly decent kids. I said, "Y'all going down there and smoke some dope?" "Oh no, sir, we don't do anything like that." And the driver's a big boy. I know I'm telling my second country fat person joke in 2 minutes. He's a big old boy. Kid. "Oh no, sir, we don't do any of that. We don't do it." And then the one says anymore. So they have to put the caveat on there anymore. So I said, "Oh, you used to smoke dope?" "Yeah, a little bit, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "But you're not going down there to smoke no dope now?" No, sir. I said, "You ain't queer, are you?" "Oh, no." So I go run their driver's license. Sure enough, both of them are on probation for weed. After they just said, no. So I'm up there talking to them a little bit. Now I'm not going to search the car because I wasn't a car searcher because the cars are dirty and they got needles and I just just leave me alone. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I was a liberal. That's why I'm on the radio now. I was a liberal cop. That's why I couldn't make it. So, but I want to see those pictures. So I'm up there, give them their license back, and I just, without even asking permission, I reach in and grab that one and pull it out because I want to see what's on it. And it's this big boy in his best. I don't know what they do when they're flexing and they got their like a flex fig leaf. You know what I mean? They're you know what I mean? And he's next to an old man, and I said, and it's dark because I got my flashlight. I said, "What is it?" He goes, "Well, that's me and Harley Race. I just graduated from Harley's wrestling school." I said, "Well, and he had a portable ring and got stolen. He had a ring that was like on a gooseneck trailer and had set it up, and he had gotten stolen. Harley Race, yeah, and it was a big. When they put out the APB for this wrestling ring, most of the young guys thought it was a joke. You know what I mean? They didn't even know who Harley Race was. You know what I mean? Handsome Harley was. So only the old timers even knew. So that was some big joke around the station there. A wrestling trailer, and the old guys, yeah, Handsome Harley. And so I asked these guys immediately because that APB just come out. I said, "Hey, you guys didn't steal his trailer, did you?" "Oh no, we don't know who did that. We're super fans." And all the Polaroids was from the he went to the wrestling school. They go in and I felt bad for this kid. It's bad when you go to a 65-year-old man's wrestling school and he looks better than you, but that's neither here.
So the kid was had all these Polaroids of himself.
Yeah, but them guys, and they were wrestling moves, and they were, and they, So I had to ask him about the windows. I said, "Man, what's the deal with the windows?" And he said, "Well, I locked my keys in my car, So I knocked the little one out first, and I was too big. I couldn't reach in and unlock it. Then I had to go ahead and knock the second window out. So,
oh my goodness!
You hear a story like that, you just got to let them go. I mean, they're just trying to make it in this world, you know?
They just trying to make it.
In this world. It's just trying to make it in this world.
Thank God for duct tape and Walmart, right?
Yeah, hey, they're just trying to memorize phone numbers, man. They're just. They can't.
Oh boy!
For some reason, I don't think that guy memorized had many phone numbers.
No, he probably did not. No,
that's why he got his partner with him. There, yeah, just. Yeah.
They would do the tag team effort right there.
Yeah.
So I wonder, did that young man, did he ever go on to a career of professional wrestling?
You know, I think John Cena. No.
I was going to ask, was his name Chris Hahn?
Hey, I don't want that big son of a gun mad at me, so that's on you. I don't know if he can memorize directions good enough to find me, but one of these days he might.
He would ask me to take him down there to you.
Of course, hey, that's another thing. In the day of the GPS, this goes back to the dumb people being able to mate. Now they just plug in the directions in a GPS and it'll tell them. You know?
Yeah.
Back in our day, you had to know when you got directions to some girl's house or to a party. First of all, you had to go to a party to meet anybody or a bar, and you're underage. You had to go. You had to, which means you had to meet people.
Mm-hmm.
Which means you had to have some kind of a personality to start off.
They used to refer to it as game.
Yeah. And then you had to when somebody give you a phone number, you had to memorize it. And then when they give you directions to a location, you had to know, land recognition. And then that was pre-anti-bullying. So that was back in the days when people would you could get an ass whipping. It could be from a brother, a boyfriend, a neighbor. You just never knew so only the most successful people had babies. Nowadays, they don't have to know anything. They meet online.
Snatch chat.
GPS tells them how to get there. They don't have to memorize no nothing. So for 1 million years, only the strong survived, and now anybody does.
Now you got to talking about having to memorize the phone numbers, and I'm not one to usually be telling a good story, but because one of our loyal listeners, Todd Redmond, I'll name drop him. He'll be listening to this episode in the garbage truck, and this will harken back to one of those. Yeah, this will be harken back to one of those phone numbers. Okay, so there was a young lady. I won't mention her name. I'll save her the embarrassment. But she went to a different school. I think I was in college, and she was somebody that I met, and she gave me her phone number, and I had it written down on a piece of paper. Okay, because there was no cell phone.
That's what you had to do. Yeah,
that's what you had to do.
That's what you had to do.
And so Todd and I spent a lot of time at Todd's house, and Todd's dad, he was the one that started and ran the refuse business. Okay, and so he gets up. Apparently, I'm at their house. I spent a lot of time there, and this piece of paper is down in their office by the phone. Here's this girl's name with her phone number
that you wrote down.
That I wrote down. It's sitting
and
there.
You got.
I got it. And we're off, we're doing whatever. Maybe had gone back to college at that point. Well, during the course of the week, his dad comes in off the garbage route, sees this piece of paper with this girl's name, this phone number, calls her up and says, well, I understand you want to start getting your garbage picked up. He's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, I got your name and your number right here on my desk that I'm supposed to call you.
He just thought that was just something like.
He just thought it was a note for him about.
Did she know who he was or recognize his name or anything?
He didn't have any idea because she didn't go to our school. She was from kind of out of the area a little bit.
Yeah.
And he had no idea. He's talking to this 17-year-old girl, trying to convince her that she called him and left her name and number to get her garbage picked up, not even realizing that if he did go pick up her garbage, it'd been like an hour and a half away or something.
Right? Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
me and Todd always laugh about that because that was one. And needless to say, there was no dating or anything that ever went on with that girl because I was
because you didn't have the number. I was trying to figure out that he lost the number. She called him, and then now she's married to him, thinking it's you or something.
He threw the number away, and that was one I didn't memorize because I had it written down. And then, but it's funny then in the full circle. I ended up coaching her daughter for a couple years. She played basketball for us and stuff. But I never asked her.
You never say, hey.
I never. It was all good, but that's a funny story from back in the day.
Yeah, where you had to write numbers down. And then they would, in the town I grew up in, the local bank had a time and temperature number. And I know now that I think about it, that sounds just dumb as hell. I mean, who has a time and temperature number? I might call it when I get off this podcast.
The time is and the temperature is.
Yeah. You remember that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I remember that too. Back when
people would call this for the temperature or whatever, but
yeah.
And you used to be able to call up and order 20 pizzas to get delivered to somebody's house too. You can't do that anymore.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I guess why not?
They recognize your number now.
Oh, that too.
Yeah,
the time and temperature number, you'd be out someplace and then you'd ask for a girl's number or whatever, and then she'd give you the time and temperature number. And you'd be like, okay, thanks. You just play dumb because you know what I mean.
That was a burner number.
That was the burn number. But if you got burnt enough, you recognized it. You know what I mean? So you try to play cool then. I did anyway. I never tried to correct them because I thought, hey, they're like a bus. Like my buddy says, they're like a bus. Another one come along in a minute. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But just think about all the things you had to memorize besides numbers. I mean, and directions and a phone. When's the last time you saw a phone book?
Well, you know what? I just delivered about 150 phone books.
For what?
Mail route. And my first thought is listen, there's nothing new in this phone book from the people that got them last year. The only thing is going to be some stuff that's not there. Maybe some of the older people passed away or whatever. It's like, what's new in the phone book? Nothing. I don't even think anybody. I mean, the yellow page used to be, 50 pages thick. It was probably a sheet and a half. I mean, come on.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't. You surprised me. I've never seen a phone book, and I don't know when the last time I've seen a phone book.
And nothing against the old people, but man, that some of those people want. You got any extra phone books? I'll take 2 or 3.
Come on. I'd give the same first person 150 of them. And say,
they use them to balance their couch when they break the leg on it because they don't want to buy another one. That's what they use it for.
Yeah.
Balance their bed when they bust it or something and kind of level the mattress out a little.
Yeah. I think there should be. I don't even know how you could. What I'd like. I always thought what they had to have is instead of a reform school, how the kids get in trouble. Back in the old days, they say send them to reform school. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we had like a time machine, and when they went to reform school, it was like the 80s, or maybe early, but it was the 80s where they had to use a push mower to cut the grass. Now the kids, it's unsafe for them to get cut. You know what I mean? So yeah. So when these kids got there,
so reform school today would be just going back and living for a week.
Living the life we had to live, yeah. Cutting grass or walking to someplace. You know what I mean?
Put them on the farm for a week. Let them milk cows and let them feed the
Wouldn't
hogs.
Even have to do that. I mean, just to have them.
I hate to break it to you, Jason. The farm ain't quite as what it used to be.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, things have changed.
Yeah.
Now on the farm, you drive around the field once, and then on the GPS.
You mean you don't have a mule named Betsy for tilling the land?
Not for tilling the land, just for the petting zoo.
Damn.
I was just thinking to stress out my kids the most would be telling them they had to ride somewhere without their seatbelt on. Remember, you get in a car with no seatbelt? My kids, if you put it in park or reverse without the seatbelt, boy, they'll scream at you. Maybe that'd be the torture. Now, kids, y'all screwed up, so you're here at reform school, so you got to ride to town. We're going on a 30-mile journey with no seatbelts. So
no airbags.
No airbags. If you want the window down, you got to roll it, crank. It's that handle over there. Turn it the other way. Turn it the other way. Okay.
It's funny
so
you mentioned
if somebody's number's up today, you might not make it. Sorry. Oh, and you know what we're going to do? We're going to take a 10-mile gravel road after you get all sweaty. That's what we're going to do. Hey, but let me tell you what the good news is we got to take this 10-mile gravel road after you're all sweaty with no air conditioning, and you got to roll the windows down. The good news is there's going to be a party at the end of the thing, and you've got to talk to some nice, clean people with all this dust. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Hey, and they'll give you their number, but you can't write it down. There's no phones. There's no text. There's no. You got to memorize it. You've got to memorize it.
Well, that ain't gonna happen with most folks.
Well. On that note, we'll stop the jaunt down the gravel road / memory lane, and maybe when everybody listens to this episode, they can jump online and give us their favorite memories of growing up.
That's right.
Growing up in the 80s.
Growing up on gravel.
Once again, we had the Ozark Howler, and it's been wonderful. And you need to line us up some more stories so we can get you back again. That's for sure.
Okay, you get the viewers, and I'll get the stories.
We'll work on that on our end. And Shane, before you go, you need to plug that new book of yours.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't even know the name of the book.
Oh! From the
Stories
Shadows.
I Should Have Wrote. I think that's what it was called.
It's called
Stories I Should Have Wrote.
It's actually called From the Shadows. So it's From the Shadows Volume 1. It's the first book in a series that I was asked to write for an already established author. And the cool thing about it is that it is in screenplay form. You know, Jeff and I do a little screenwriting here, so it's it reads as if you were watching either a television show or the movie. So it's a little bit different for anybody that goes out and is foolish enough to buy it. So actually this morning I was already working on it. I had to reformat it so it reads as a book for the electronic version. But if you go buy the book now, it is in the screenplay version. So the hope is it's being pitched to television and movie people right now that you'll be able to get it and read through it while you're watching it as a television episode or a movie. So and the teaser is that in the book, all you guys are in the book as the podcast hosts for the podcast From the Shadows. So that's the teaser.
So there is some realism there.
There is some realism. And I think I captured the essence of the Ozark Howler perfectly in his dialogue in this.
Nice.
But that's the scoop on the book as of right now. So all right. Well, thanks for an entertaining morning, and I'll be looking forward to listening back on this episode and laughing while I'm delivering mail.
Absolutely. And everybody that listens, if you enjoy this, please subscribe to our podcast on one of your forums. We don't care which one. They're all good. If you prefer Spotify, use Spotify. You like TuneIn, use TuneIn. We're going to be on iHeartRadio. Check out our YouTube channel. We're going to have some good stuff that's going to come up there in the future. But for right now, we just have our audio podcasts are there. For some people, they have a YouTube app, and they are real comfortable with that, so they like to listen to it on YouTube. But we will have some new, fresh material in the near future that will be coming out on our YouTube channel. Thank you, everybody.
All right, sounds good. See ya.
All right, bye. Ladies and gentlemen, a final word. please visit us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/From the Shadows Podcast, and on our Instagram page at instagram.com/From the Shadows Podcast. You can visit our webpage at FromTheShadowsPodcast.GoDaddySites.com, or contribute to our Facebook discussion page called After the Shadows, and tweet us on our Twitter feed at twitter.com/podcast_from. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you all. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are